Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are really immersing ourselves in the weeds, you could say. We're tackling what's probably the most, well, enduring and maybe frustrating mystery in recent gaming memory. The Mount Chiliad mystery in Grand Theft Auto V.
Oh, yeah. This thing's been haunting players since, 2013. It's generated just a decade of serious effort, code digging, massive online debates, wild theories. The sheer amount of time people have poured into this one single puzzle it's really something else.
Absolutely. And there's a mountain of evidence, pun intended, to sort through now.
Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive, and this is the first part of a series we're doing on GTA's biggest secrets, is to really lay out the evidence for the two main camps, the two big arguments here, trying to figure out, is Mount Chiliad an unsolved puzzle still waiting for someone to crack it in the original story mode? Or was it basically cut, abandoned and then maybe chopped up and reused online?
Yeah, we're looking for those key pieces of evidence, those aha moments that really distinguish those two viewpoints. And to even start, we have to look at the absolute core of it all, the mural, the famous mural inside the cable car station, right up at the top of the mountain.
Right. That's the ground zero document, isn't it? If you haven't seen it, picture this schematic drawing of the mountain. At the very peak, there's this big symbol, looks like an eye, maybe a UFO. Then lines snake down through this grid, like a flowchart filled with X's. And down at the bottom, clear as day, are three boxes, three icons, the things everyone wants. A UFO, a cracked egg, and a jetpack.
And those three prizes became the obsession, didn't they? The jetpack, the egg, the UFO. That's what everyone zoned in on. So let's start with the one that got, solved relatively early on, because the way it was solved immediately planted the seeds of doubt, the ones that feed that whole cut content idea.
Makes sense. So the first big breakthrough, it was all about that UFO icon on the mural. And the clues for this part, they weren't buried deep in code initially. They were literally painted on the walls nearby, like an instruction manual.
Exactly. The biggest one, the absolute key, was found sprayed right under the main observation deck near the mural itself. Red paint. It just says, "Come back when your story is complete."
Which is huge, right? It tells you straight up, don't even bother trying this until you've done everything else. It points directly to 100% game completion. Nothing less.
Precisely. A massive undertaking. And then those X's on the mural grid, people quickly figured out they corresponded to these other little drawings, glyphs on rocks around the summit. These weren't just random doodles, they were conditions, environmental cues.
Right, I remember those. There was one showing a rain cloud.
Meaning stormy weather.
And another showing a crescent moon with these three lines, which everyone took to mean 3 a.m., middle of the night.
And one glyph even points to the actual observation deck structure itself, so the location.
So you put it all together, finish the entire game, 100%. Get up to that specific spot on the mountain, wait for a thunderstorm at 3 a.m.
Do all that, and bingo. A massive UFO just appears. Materializes silently above the peak. For a moment there, the community thought, okay, we cracked it, 1 down, 2 to go.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The nature of that reward, the UFO itself, immediately raised flags, big ones.
Yes. That's the twist. You go through all that effort, and 100% is a serious grind only to find something, suspicious. If you try and fly up to it, get close in a chopper or plane, poof, it vanishes, just disappears.
Like a hologram.
Exactly. It looks amazing, this big light show, but you can't touch it, can't interact with it, which felt anticlimactic to a lot of people. It led straight to that hologram theory.
Okay, but hold on. Isn't the fact that it vanishes, and more importantly, that it's marked 5, isn't that the real secret?
How do you mean?
Well, if it was a real solid alien ship, maybe it would just sit there, immune to us. But the fact it disappears and has FIB markings, that points to a government cover-up, right? Not necessarily aliens, but something advanced the government is hiding.
That's a really sharp point, and it gets right to the heart of why the community split. You're absolutely right. See, there are 4 UFOs you can find in the story mode. The one above Chiliad and another one over the hippie camp out in Sandy Shores. Both of those have FIB stamped on them, the game's FBI equivalent.
So 2 of them are explicitly government tech, or at least presented that way.
Suggesting they're man-made, yeah. Maybe advanced prototypes, maybe disinformation, but not extraterrestrial, which, if that's the reward for 100%, feels less grand somehow.
It grounds the mystery, doesn't it? Instead of cosmic secrets, it's terrestrial secrets, government secrets.
Exactly. Now, compare that to the UFO over Fort Zancudo, the military base. That one looks much more, alien, menacing design. Different.
But even that one?
Even that one, yeah. If you get a good look, maybe with a sniper scope, you can see figures inside.
Yeah.
Pilots.
Pilots. So even the most alien-looking one seems to be under military control, or at least
Yeah.
observation. Confirms they're involved.
Right. So back to the Chiliad UFO. It disappears. It's marked FIB. It feels like maybe it's just a staged event, a distraction, a breadcrumb meant to look like the real thing, but isn't.
Which makes you wonder why the incredibly complex setup.
That's 100%.
Storm, 3 a.m., all for a government light show.
And that's the crux of it. That's why the very first solve fueled so much doubt. It either means we never found the real trigger for something else, or
the originally intended reward.
Yeah.
Maybe a real physical alien craft got cut, and this hologram was put in its place.
Precisely. It checks the box on the mural visually UFO found, but it just doesn't deliver that satisfying, world-changing secret everyone is hoping for. The mythology felt deflated.
Okay, so that lack of satisfaction, that anticlimax, it perfectly leads into the other two icons, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The ones that really power the it's still unsolved argument, the jetpack
Yeah.
and the cracked egg.
Absolutely, because the evidence that these were meant to be tangible rewards is incredibly strong. And it's not just painted clues, it's buried deep in the game's actual code.
Let's start with the jetpack.
Yeah.
That one carries so much emotional weight, doesn't it?
Oh, hugely. Because it wasn't just a new idea. The jetpack was this iconic, beloved, fully working vehicle in GTA San Andreas. Seeing it on the Chiliad mural, players immediately thought, it's back, it's hidden somewhere. The legacy was immense.
And the data miners, the people digging through the game files, they found proof this wasn't just wishful thinking.
Not at all. Very early on, hackers found specific references, actual commands in the code, what developers call natives.
Can you just quickly explain what a native means here for folks who aren't deep into game code?
Sure. Think of a native as a built-in function. It's a fundamental command the game engine already knows how to execute. It's not just a file name, it's like the verb, the instruction for doing something. And they found multiple natives explicitly labeled jetpack. Even more telling, they found bits of source code defining how it should behave, linking its controls and physics to the existing parachute system.
Wow. So they'd actually figured out how it should fly, how the player would control it.
It seems so. The framework was there. The instructions for how it should operate within the game's physics engine were written.
So this wasn't just a sketch on a napkin. This was functional code, ready to go.
That's the argument.
Yeah.
Yet, no one ever found the actual 3D model of the jetpack in the story mode or any way to make it appear. It was like a ghost in the machine. The instructions were there, but the object wasn't.
Which screams, something's missing.
Exactly. That functional code is probably the strongest piece of evidence for the unsolved camp. And we see a very similar pattern with the other big missing piece, the cracked egg.
Right, the egg. That icon was even weirder initially because what even is it? It didn't look like a vehicle or anything familiar.
Total mystery. Until, again, the data miners went digging, not in the code this time, but in the assets, the actual 3D models and textures. And they found a file named Popelinegg01.
Prop Alien Egg 01. Pretty specific.
Very specific. And it wasn't just a name, it was a fully finished 3D model. Textured, ready to be placed in the game world. This wasn't a placeholder note, it was the thing itself, the intended object.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We have two of the three big mural icons, the jetpack and the egg. One has functional flight code written for it. The other has a completed 3D model sitting in the files.
Correct.
But neither of them actually appears anywhere you can find them in the single-player game world.
That's the situation, and that's why people think there must be some undiscovered trigger, some missing quest chain that activates them.
And it wasn't just those two items, right? Weren't there other weird things found in the files that seemed connected?
Yes, absolutely. Which suggests this wasn't just about finding two items. It might have been part of a much larger, more complex sequence. Data miners found other strange objects never placed in the game that seemed to point directly at a huge, interconnected Chiliad mystery.
Like the Aztec calendar thing. I remember hearing about that.
That's probably the most significant one. The file is ProPartifact01. Like the egg, never found in-game, but when hackers pulled it out and looked at it, the connection was obvious. It's this ancient-looking stone desk like a calendar, and carved onto it are symbols directly related to the mystery. Pyramids, like you might see in, say, Mayan or Aztec culture. A pilot's mask.
Yeah.
And crucially, a UFO.
Wow. So if the mural on the mountain is the map, this calendar thing is like the legend, the key to understanding the symbols.
That's a great way to put it. It feels like it provides the context, the mythology, reinforces this whole ancient astronauts, alien contact, piloting theme. It ties it all together.
Okay, that's huge. What else?
Well, there are other bits and pieces. References to a mysterious crate, Secret weapon A2, again, never found, never activated. What was it? A key part? A blueprint, maybe. Who knows? But the name suggests importance.
A secret weapon. Could that have been the jetpack itself packaged up?
Possibly. Or something needed to power it. Or maybe something related to the UFOs.
And speaking of UFOs, wasn't there evidence pointing towards being able to actually fly one? Not just see it?
Overwhelming evidence, yes, which would have been the ultimate payoff, right? Solve the whole thing, get to pilot an alien craft. The code suggested much more than just the flyover we got. Miners found code specifically for a vehicle weapon that fired a green laser.
A death ray.
Pretty much. There was even a graphics filter effect named UFO Death Ray found in the files. Suggests they planned for it to be usable, weaponized.
Again, why code a specific green laser in effect if you're just going to scrap the whole vehicle? That seems like a lot of wasted effort.
It does point towards intent, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the weirdest find of all was a file called alienrunesoverlay.gfx.
Alien runes overlay. Like for the screen when you're inside something.
An interface, something you'd see while piloting it. And here's the kicker. This file was found tucked away inside the code related to the first-person camera view for helicopters.
No way. So it was linked to helicopter controls.
That's the implication. It strongly suggests they might have planned to make the UFO flyable by basically putting a new skin, the UFO model and this runic interface, onto the existing proven helicopter flight mechanics.
That makes perfect sense from a development standpoint. Leverage what already works.
So you add it all up. The working jetpack code, the finished alien egg model, that Aztec calendar providing the lore, the UFO death ray functions, the pilot overlay linked to helicopter mechanics. It paints this picture of a really detailed multi-stage quest. Something physical, tangible, that was absolutely meant to be found and completed within the single-player game when it launched.
And the unsolved argument basically boils down to that evidence is just too specific, too functional to have all been cut. The trigger, the starting point, must just be incredibly well hidden, still out there.
That's the core belief, yes. The mechanism exists undiscovered.
Okay. But that brings us crashing into the other side of the argument. If all that stuff was there, ready to go, why hasn't anyone found it in over a decade? Which leads us to the cut content theory. Maybe the ambition just got too big, or something changed and it was all scrapped, or maybe worse, repurposed.
And this argument also has strong evidence, starting with Rockstar's own communications, or lack thereof. Remember, back in December 2013, not long after the game came out, Rockstar officially announced they were planning story mode updates for 2014, single-player DLC.
I remember that. People were hyped, more story content.
And then nothing. Those promised single-player updates just never happened. Vanished.
And now we have a potential reason why. Thanks to leaks, right? Stuff about a canceled DLC.
Exactly. Evidence eventually surfaced, through leaks, pointing to a pretty substantial, fully scrapped single-player expansion. It supposedly starred Trevor, acting as some kind of secret agent. And the details mentioned in those leaks, things like space travel, dealing with satellites, Russian planes, and yes, a mission sequence involving a jetpack.
Ah, so the jetpack was planned for single-player. Just maybe in that canceled DLC, not the base game mystery.
That's the core of the theory. Rockstar planned this huge, ambitious single-player stuff. Maybe the Chiliad mystery was meant to tie into it, or maybe they were separate. But then GTA Online starts exploding, making astronomical amounts of money.
Right. The golden goose.
So the theory goes, they looked at this complex, expensive single-player DLC, looked at the cash cow of online, and made a business decision. Focus shifted entirely to online. And those cool assets planned for single player, the jetpack, maybe other elements, cannibalized, repurposed for the multiplayer world where they could be monetized, sold even.
Which leads us directly to December 2017. Years later, the Doomsday Heist drops for GTA Online.
And for many, many players, this felt like Rockstar finally closing the book on Mount Chiliad. This was the answer, just not the one they originally expected.
How so? What did the Doomsday Heist actually reveal?
Well, the heist literally takes you inside Mount Chiliad. You break into it and discover this massive, secret, abandoned nuclear missile silo hidden within the mountain, run by this crazy tech billionaire, Avon Hertz.
A base inside the mountain. So those lines on the mural, maybe they did mean tunnels and interior structure?
That's how many interpreted it, yes. It provided a physical secret inside the mountain, fulfilling that aspect of the mural. It gave the mountain an interior.
And the jetpack. Was that in the base?
It was the grand finale. The very last mission of the heist, the Doomsday scenario, has you escaping this exploding mountain base using a jetpack, specifically a vehicle called the Thruster.
The Thruster. Not quite the classic San Andreas jetpack people imagined, was it?
Not really, no. It looked different, handled differently, and crucially, right after the heist, the Thruster became available to buy in GTA Online for a hefty price tag.
Ah. So the mystery's reward wasn't found through solving riddles in single player. It was delivered years later inside a multiplayer update attached to a purchasable vehicle.
You can see why the community reaction was so divided. On one hand, look, a jetpack, a base inside Chiliad. Mystery solved? Kinda. On the other hand, it felt cynical, like the ultimate gaming mystery ended up being a setup to sell an expensive online vehicle. The single-player puzzle was just abandoned, and its assets recycled for profit.
Especially since that Thruster wasn't exactly universally loved, right?
Nope.
People found it kind of clunky compared to the dream of the original.
Yeah, the contrast between the hoped-for sleek classic jetpack and the actual Thruster definitely fueled that they sold out the mystery feeling.
And didn't they kind of rub salt in the wound later?
Yeah.
With the old jetpack design?
They did. Much later, in another online update, they added a bunker location under Fort Zancudo, and inside that bunker, you can find blueprints for the original San Andreas-style jetpack. Yep. Just sitting there like a museum piece, a little Easter egg acknowledging the classic design right next to all the new, expensive online military hardware you can buy. It felt like a deliberate nod. Here's what you wanted, but look at this new stuff instead.
Oh, okay. What about the alien egg? Did that get repurposed too?
It sure did. Remember that Propellion Egg 01 asset found way back in the single-player files?
Yeah, the finished mantle.
Well, a version of that alien egg finally appeared in-game, also in GTA Online, during the 2017 gun running update. But getting it wasn't about solving a puzzle. It was tied to a specific, rare UFO crash site mission. And that mission, it only had a chance of triggering after you successfully completed something like 600 gun-running resupply missions.
600? That's insane. That's pure grind.
Pure multiplayer grind, exactly. So again, the original asset from the single-player files gets recycled, and the trigger becomes this enormous time sink within the online ecosystem. Not a riddle, just repetition.
Okay, the case for cut and repurposed is looking pretty strong. The canceled DLC, the Doomsday Heist providing a narrative end, the jetpack and egg becoming online items.
And one final piece of timing that seems significant to many. Remember that weird old website, chiliadmystery.com?
Vaguely, just had a picture of a door from inside a tunnel or something, right? And it was dormant for years.
That's the one. Well, that website, after years of silence, suddenly went offline. Disappeared completely. And the timing. It happened suspiciously close to when the second trailer for GTA Vice dropped.
Huh. So people took that as Rockstar basically wiping the slate clean, shutting down the old mystery before starting the hype for the new game.
It certainly felt like symbolic timing for those who believed the mystery was officially over, concluded by the Doomsday Heist and the move to online, like closing an old chapter.
Right, so Doomsday Heist gives this tidy, if maybe commercially driven, answer. Case closed.
Well, that's the thing. Despite all that, despite the seeming resolution in online, the hunt in single-player persists. And it persists because Rockstar themselves keep dropping hints, and because they've proven they can hide incredibly complex secrets.
So what does this all mean then? Why keep looking if Doomsday gave an answer? Because Rockstar has a track record, right? They like hiding incredibly elaborate stuff.
Exactly. They've shown they are masters of the long con, hiding secrets that take years, literal years, for the community to unravel. And the proof isn't just speculation, it's found inside the very place that supposedly solved Chiliad.
Inside the Doomsday Heist base.
Inside the Doomsday Heist base. Remember those colored murals you mentioned seeing in there? Yellow, red, green, purple?
Yeah.
Those weren't just decoration, they were instruction manuals for other hidden secrets in the game. And the green mural, specifically, was the key that finally cracked arguably the most complex single-player Easter egg ever discovered before Chiliad. The playable Bigfoot secret.
Wait, the Bigfoot thing was tied to the Doomsday base murals. I thought that was solved earlier.
The final steps were unlocked thanks to clues on this green mural. It depicts an ape evolving, the number 27, a peyote plant, and a sound wave. Those were the missing pieces.
Okay, remind us, how complex was that Bigfoot hunt? Because it wasn't just finding one thing, was it?
Oh, it was borderline ridiculous. Truly staggering complexity. First, you had to find and consume all 27 normal peyote plants scattered across the entire map. That alone is a huge task.
Okay, step one, collect everything.
Step 2, using coordinates that people eventually figured out were hinted at by the mural and other clues found in the game code, you had to locate 7 special golden peyote plants. And these golden peyotes, they only appeared under hyper-specific conditions.
What kind of conditions?
Specific weather, it had to be foggy or snowy, which is rare in the game's weather cycle. And specific times of day, Tuesday between 5:3 and 8:00 a.m. only.
Weather and time dependent. Okay, getting tougher.
But here's the truly insane part. The order. You couldn't just eat them when you found them. You had to find and consume all 7 golden peyotes in the correct chronological order of the days of the week. 1 per day, starting on Sunday, ending on Saturday, all while hitting that specific weather and time window each day.
You're kidding. You had to do it over a full in-game week, in sequence. If you missed Tuesday's window, you had to wait a whole week.
Or maybe even start over. The exact mechanics were debated. But the sequence was key. Miss a day, start on the wrong day, the whole thing failed, you wouldn't unlock the final stage.
That is absolutely bonkers level of hidden complexity. Sequencing, timing, weather, coordinates.
And we know Rockstar intended this complexity and was watching people try to solve it. Because after the community figured out most of it, but got the starting day wrong initially, Rockstar actually patched the game to add a hidden comment in the code.
What did it say?
It said, clear as day for data miners to find. He was wrong to start his hunt on Tuesday.
Wow, they were directly communicating with the hunters, correcting them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which proves 2 crucial things. 1, they actively monitored the community's efforts on these deep mysteries. 2, they are absolutely capable of implementing and willing to implement these incredibly convoluted, multi-layered, time and weather-gated secrets within the single-player environment.
So if they could hide the Bigfoot sequence like that.
They could absolutely hide an equally complex trigger for the original jetpack and alien egg in the story mode. The precedent is clearly there.
And they haven't stopped teasing, have they? Even after Doomsday.
Not at all. They keep poking the bear, suggesting the original mystery isn't done. In the 2022 Halloween update, years after Doomsday, they added a tiny, easily missed detail inside that Fort Zancudo bunker. The same bunker that has the alien egg display and the classic jetpack blueprints.
What did they add?
A sticky note. A simple yellow post-it note stuck on a computer monitor and written on it.
Let me guess. Something cryptic.
Almost too direct. It reads, "This needs an extra push to close."
An extra push to close. That sounds like a direct message to the mystery hunters, doesn't it? Like, you're close, but not quite there yet. Keep pushing.
Undeniable, right? Years after the supposed solution, they're still telling players in the single-player environment that something remains unfinished.
And wasn't there some dialogue added around the same time?
Yep. The character Dax, introduced in the 2022 Drugs Wars update, has dialogue where he specifically mentions the eggs on Mount Chiliad, and then he speculates if they exist on this timeline or the next one, my friend.
This timeline or the next one? That sounds like a very deliberate nod to the split, doesn't it? The single-player timeline versus the ongoing GTA Online timeline. He's almost questioning which reality the eggs belong to.
It feels very meta, very aware of the whole debate.
And the biggest tease of all, bringing it right up to the present or near future.
The GTA Seaside trailer, the second one, for a split second, clear as day in the background graffiti. There it is. The Mount Chiliad Iron Grid mural.
They put the mural in the GTA VI trailer.
They did. Maybe just an Easter egg. Maybe just acknowledging the legacy. But it's Rockstar actively using the imagery, the ghost of this supposedly solve or cut mystery, as part of their marketing for the next game. It suggests the riddle, in their minds at least, is still relevant, still has cachet.
So the fundamental conflict is still raging. The files and the sheer insanity of the Bigfoot hunt prove Rockstar could have built this ridiculously complex single-player path for the jetpack and egg.
But the Doomsday heist and the online repurposing prove they were willing to provide an alternative monetized answer later on.
So the billion-dollar question remains. Was the original mechanism, the whole puzzle path in single-player, actually cut? Or is it just the original reward that got moved, while the path itself still lies dormant, waiting for that extra push?
And that's where we stand. You've got strong evidence for cut content, the DLC leaks, the timing of Doomsday, the online items. It makes logical business sense, perhaps.
But you've also got powerful fuel for unsolved. Those incredibly specific unused files like the Aztec calendar, the working jetpack code, and maybe most importantly, Rockstar's own continued hints within the single-player game telling people to keep looking. The Zancudo note is hard to ignore.
Especially when you consider, again, the Bigfoot hunt. It wasn't just about finding stuff. It required deep analysis of coordinates hidden in code, tracking rare weather, precise timing over days. It set a precedent for non-obvious solutions.
Which brings us back to those doomsday murals one last time. You said green solved Bigfoot. What about the others, particularly the purple one?
The purple mural. Unlike green, which was quite literal, purple is much more symbolic. It features imagery like the scales of justice and the yin and yang symbol.
Justice, balance, yin and yang. That doesn't sound like coordinates or weather patterns. That sounds
Thematic.
moral almost.
Exactly. And those symbols resonate incredibly strongly with the personal story arc of one particular protagonist, Michael DeSantis. His whole journey is about trying to balance his criminal past, his messy family life, his desire for legitimacy.
So, are you suggesting the final key isn't an object or an action, but a state of being? A moral choice. This links to that old golden path theory, doesn't it?
It breathes new life into it, absolutely. The golden path theory posits that maybe, just maybe, the ultimate trigger for the original Chiliad mystery isn't about finding a hidden cave or pressing buttons in the right order. Maybe it's tied to achieving a specific narrative outcome for Michael, making consistently good or reconciliatory choices throughout his entire story, saving his family, actually listening to his therapist, choosing the death wish ending where he saves both Trevor and Franklin, achieving a kind of balance.
Wow. So the deepest secret in the game wouldn't be hidden on the mountain, but within the choices made during the story itself.
It's a fascinating possibility. If true, it would mean the ultimate reward is tied not just to exploration, but to the game's emotional and moral core. The answer, hidden in plain sight, within the narrative path itself.
That is definitely a provocative thought to end on. The idea that the key isn't just code, but character. We'll have to leave it there for this part, but we will definitely be picking this up again, diving deeper into specific solution theories, including that golden path, and looking at other lingering GTA mysteries in our next deep dive.